Welcome and good afternoon. I'm Kyle Zinkner. I'm the Executive Director for Good Shepherd Hospice. Let me tell you a little bit about Good Shepherd Hospice. Since 1979, Good Shepherd Hospice has been providing quality, end-of-life care to our community with the philosophy that every life matters until the very end and every moment counts. And though hospice is a model of care and not a place, Good Shepherd is the only local hospice provider with its own inpatient hospice houses, located in Lakeland, Auburndale, and Sebring, as well as we're the only provider that offers children bereavement programs. With your support of our mission, we're able to make special moments happen, and I'd like to share one of them with you today. Our Poppy team members were caring for a young lady and realized that she had a milestone moment quickly approaching and wanted to do something special for her. Mrs. T, as we'll refer to her today, had a birthday coming up, and not just any birthday. This would be her 105th birthday, and our team wanted to make this a special event. With the help of our foundation and the support of the Hospice Women of Giving, we were able to secure everything needed to make this a memorable day. Mrs. T loved barbecue, and we were able to get a large feast from a local restaurant. The group made a huge 105th birthday sign and picked up a cake. Mrs. T was adorned with a birthday hat, scarf, flowers, and a smile that went from ear to ear. With the help of our team, she was able to walk from her chair to the table where her surviving relatives, close friends, neighbors, and our team were gathered to sing and celebrate with her. Mrs. T's story is not unique, as she shared that she was going strong until she reached her 90s and then slowed down just a bit. Her goal is to remain as independent as possible and live in her condo, which she loves, for as long as she can. With the help of Good Shepherd Hospice, she's able to make that goal a reality. Now, I'd like to introduce to you a special lady. She's a founding member of the Hospice Women of Giving and serves as the current chair. After retiring from a long career in public relations and marketing, she has been working tirelessly in our community as an advocate and board member for several agencies here in Polk County. She serves as a board member for Elder Point Services, a business advisory board member for Florida Southern College and Actis program, a board member for the Democratic Women's Club of Lakeland, and an advocate for a local newspaper, not-for-profit, called Lakeland Now. Please join me in welcoming Cindy Sternlich. Cindy?
Thank you, Kyle, for that nice introduction. And welcome to you to our 5th annual and first ever virtual Seasons of Service. And a special thank you to our speakers for their flexibility in making this possible. Unfortunately and unexpectedly, Saritha Tinsley was not able to be with us today, but we do hope she's watching along. We also offer special thanks to our generous sponsors, Southern Homes, Family Elder Law, Concord Coffee, Margie Allen, Teresa Bray, Dr. Anna Claire Green, James T. Joyner, PA. In early 2013, Hospice Women of Giving started with a small group of women who had experienced the care of Good Shepherd Hospice in our families. We had never met, but we formed an immediate bond, and we set a 2-part mission for our group: to create greater awareness for Good Shepherd Hospice so more people could know about the services available before they need them, and to build philanthropic support for patients and families through the collective power of women's giving. Our members' yearly contributions are invested in a variety of projects to benefit those served by Good Shepherd Hospice. There's a brief list in your program to give you an idea of the projects we've funded. It's certainly not all inclusive, but over these years, our gifts have totaled more than $100,000. We found a way to give back by giving forward. Today, you'll hear inspiring stories of family and community from some special people who have given back in a variety of ways. Now, I don't have adequate words to tell you how much the Hospice Women of Giving has meant to me, the friendships that have grown, or how rewarding it is. Before we hear from our panel, we want to debut a new video about Hospice Women of Giving to explain it to you.
When women gather around a common goal, things happen. When women see a need, they respond. When they join Hospice Women of Giving, they make an impact. We have learned the most important gift in life is the gift of time. Time to play with our children, time to laugh with our friends, time to travel with our spouse, time to honor our parents. As a member of Hospice Women of Giving, your gifts serve those whose time is limited. The gift of a needed break for exhausted caregivers. The gift of honoring those who served. The gift of a warm blanket and a special touch. The gift of smiles for children facing a loss in their families. The gift of comfort for a grieving spouse. The gift of fresh sheets and towels for a family caring for a loved one at home. The gift of spreading the message about the compassionate care provided at the hospice houses. The gift of healing and connection for a child who has lost a loved one. The gift of a forever keepsake for parents who held their child's hand one last time. As a member of Hospice Women of Giving, you are part of a special group who make these gifts possible, wrapping them in your love. Love for the unique mission of hospice, and love for doing something bigger than yourself. Through friendship and shared commitment, your love is gifting time, providing hope, creating special memories, and in the end, love always wins.
Now it is my great pleasure to introduce our moderator, Dr. Erica Sarin. Early in her career, Erica was a bereavement counselor at Good Shepherd, and she helped develop the model for Camp Braveheart for children. Today, Dr. Sarin is the Dean of the College of Behavioral and Social Sciences at Southeastern University. She speaks across the country about bereavement counseling, and she writes a wonderful blog that you can find at hopeandgrief.com. There's more information about that in your program. Erica continues to give back, both as a Camp Braveheart volunteer and as the moderator who adds a touch of magic to this panel discussion each year. She is blessed with an incredible passion and gift. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Erica Sarin, who is on scene with our panelists.
Thank you, Cindy, for that wonderful introduction. Let me start by acknowledging that today is different. For the past few years during our Seasons of Service events, we've met together over lunch in the same room. But that's not our reality this year. Instead, we are gathering each from our individual homes or offices, but we're together nonetheless. You'll notice today that we are outside. You'll see the wind blowing. I don't know, folks, what my hair is going to do by the end of this. You're going to have to wait and see. But we're outside so we can practice social distancing to ensure the safety of our panelists, but also of you, of our community. While we may not be sharing the same physical space at this moment, our hearts and our journeys are still connected. And I think you'll see that a little bit today. To be honest, I cannot think of a time in recent history where that has been more important or more treasured. So thank you for joining us today as we participate in our first ever virtual Seasons of Service event. Today, we have the privilege of hearing from two families, the Tinsley family and the McIntyres. Yay, we would applaud if we were in the room, so I'm gonna go rogue and do it. These two families have made significant contributions to our community through their commitment to serving and loving others well. You should have received information about each of the panelists in the printed programs that was mailed to your homes prior to this event. What you'll find today and through those biographies about them is that each of their perspectives have been shaped by their unique life experiences, including their family dynamics, their professional endeavors, and even their own personal encounters with adversity and loss. Also, like most of you, they have experienced extraordinary challenges amid the pandemic. Yet their collective experiences have inspired them to live with an immense appreciation for life, to intentionally serve and love others well, to choose hope, to pursue gratitude, to lean on faith when times get tough, and to seek joy. Now, let me start by saying that in the very short time I've interacted with these two families over the phone and via Zoom, their wisdom has actually already impacted me tremendously. Our panelists are united by their commitment to making their own corners of the world a better place. They're also a pretty fun crew, so I may have to reel them in from time to time, but I think we'll be able to make it through today. They should keep us entertained, I'm fairly certain of that. And my hope really is that today will uplift your spirits and inspire you. Again, something that I think we are all craving and need right about now. So McIntyre and Tinsley families, here's how today is going to roll. I'm going to spend the next half hour asking you a few questions about life, about legacy, about service, about family, about hope. So let's get started. Elephant in the room. We are all living amid a pandemic, okay? So many of us, I think, maybe I'm making this up and the people in the audience are doing just fine, but I'm pretty sure many of us are starting to grow weary. We are feeling tired, lonely, fatigued. But as I've talked to each of your families, I've learned that challenges can also be immense opportunities for growth. So can you tell us a little more this morning about the lessons that you've each learned amid this pandemic? What are some things that have happened in this time in history, lessons that you've learned, things you've gained, that you plan to actually maybe use going forward? So I'm actually going to start this question. I'm going to open it up to Andy. Because in our conversation, I remember you talking about the importance of some things that you've gained amid this time. So can you just share with us some of those, and then I'll open it up to the rest of you to comment if you'd like.
For sure. Well, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for having us. We're excited to be here. Especially great to see you all and be with you guys today. It's clearly a time that we've never experienced in our life. I think any of us can safely say that, but what I've realized is we're very resilient people, and we have a lot of hope. But there's also a lot of fear, and that's okay.
Yeah.
When this first started, we realized we didn't know what was going to happen, and information was changing all the time. But what I did realize is we lived in a great community. We relied on our family. Instead of traveling all around the world, we started focusing on our neighbors and our friends, and then our immediate family. And I think what we quickly realized is that the world is changing. We need time to grieve that. We need time to to have our feelings heard and validated, and that everyone's at a different place with this. Yeah. Some people are at a different place than I am with this. But business-wise, what I realized is I'm very thankful I live in a community that would rally behind us. As people. You could pick up the phone and call someone and they would help you if there was something in need. But I think the biggest lesson, one of the biggest lessons I learned was that I really appreciated the time with my family. That I appreciated the time to spend with my dad, my sister, my wife and my kids, and a time that usually would be fleeting and fast-paced became it slowed down so much to a point that it was enjoyable just to put a playground together for my son with my dad. And I think we realized for the first time we could slow down and maybe hear God's voice in this matter versus our own. So lots of lessons. I'm sure other people have lots of lessons, but for us, the slow pace was scary, but also welcoming.
Yeah, I remember taking a walk through my neighborhood, and I said, wow, so many people take walks in our neighborhood. There's so many people out. And I realized I don't know if they've always been out and I've just never been out there with them, or if we all just decided to venture out for the first time. But definitely I can relate to some of that you're saying. What about the rest of you? Anybody want to add? Is there anything that you've gained from this experience, either one of you, that you might take forward?
I'll start off, and George can jump in where I leave off, if you will. But like was mentioned, this has been a very interesting time frame for our family, in particular the last 8 months. We lost our daughter in April, and she had been sick or bedridden for the last 2 years, and gradually got worse as 2019 ended, and so therefore it brought the whole family closer to the center in understanding that she wouldn't be with us that much longer, and spending quality time with her versus the other day-to-day responsibilities and activities that we normally would be doing. So we have a business that's kind of spread out throughout the state and into Kentucky, and so there was a lot of traveling going on, and that came to a halt with the COVID pandemic, and so we've had to focus on each other for strength, and also our belief in our religious base has been the rock to get us through a lot of this. But every day is a new day, and we're learning more and more about one another and how to survive with one another and love one another and appreciate one another, if you will. So it's been an interesting time.
Yeah, G2, I saw you kind of laugh when your dad said you're learning about, because you moved from South Florida, right, to help care for your sister.
Correct.
Then we get shut down, and then there you are back at home.
Right.
What have you learned through this time?
Yeah, so in February I sold my home, and with the intention of coming to help out with my sister, who, as my father mentioned, was sick. And then this happens, and it's okay. It's probably not the best time to try to buy a home.
Yeah.
And then my sisters, like I said, passed, and then it just became a situation where we just I think we all needed each other,
Yeah.
and that was important for us. And what I've taken away from all of this is that there's a lot of things, and the reason I giggle with the appreciation piece is we do learn to appreciate each other, but what precedes that, we focus on the good. But the reason why I laugh is I'm more of a jokester at heart, but we had our challenges, but through those came an understanding and being able to really spend time together. We work together as a family. That's another thing about us. We work together, so we're always constantly talking every day, but we're not always in the same space, and we're normally talking about business matters. Mm-hmm. And so we've been able to regain that appreciation for getting together, having breakfast, having dinner together, and engaging in those types of activities,
Yeah.
and appreciating the value of family. And the one thing I look at, they say hindsight is 20/20, and it's being 20/20. The focus is, the goal is to allow that the hindsight that is 20/20, lead to a better 2021 and the years following. So.
Yeah. Well, when you chuckled and I chuckled, because I was thinking something, I thought there are probably people watching this who are pretty bummed out that we weren't able to have a luncheon in person because you really wanted to escape from whoever you are stuck around. So this is not, I realize for some of you right now, this is a way to kind of get away for a moment, because we love being around each other, but then every now and then I do think we learned how to cope again with the people who we are around all the time, right? Yeah. Katie, I know you had kind of this mixture of, during the midst of this time where bad things were happening, really, you also had this amazing celebratory moment with your documentary. So can you tell me what that was like, to have the heaviness of everything going on, but also to have such gratitude and joy for an opportunity that you received?
Yeah, so right around the time the country was sort of shutting down, we were in talks with a distribution company for our documentary, Fly Like a Girl. So in April and May, we found out that we had gotten a distribution deal for it to go worldwide. And so one of the most, it was our first feature-length film, the first feature-length film that I had directed. And so I was overwhelmed with excitement and joy, but also feeling very guilty and a bit of grief that this moment for me that was so exciting that we'd worked so hard on was at a time that a lot of people were experiencing great loss, their jobs, family members, their homes. And so trying to be excited about something and wanting to share our film that I feel like is inspirational and hopeful in a time that felt very dark and heavy was definitely a huge contradiction for me. And so trying to just celebrate the moments and be happy about it, but also know that it still is a moment that a lot of people are suffering and feeling like too, like a lot of us are home, right? We're watching more TV, we're taking in more content. So it was a little bit of joy to know that people would be able to have a film that might be able to bring them some hope. But yeah, it was definitely a strange moment for me, but also a really wonderful one too.
Yeah, you hit on a concept that I think we talk a lot about. Some people come to this event and they don't know anything about Good Shepherd Hospice or about hospice services, and so a lot of times people think, oh, I used to go into homes. For those of you who don't know, I used to work for Good Shepherd Hospice, and I'd go into homes and people would say, oh, you're not what we thought. I don't know what they thought was going to walk in, but I think they feel like, oh, this is such a heavy time, and yet there's this idea that we read about called reconciliation, and you just hit on it, where it's the process of finding a way to make two different or contrasting ideas to be true at the same time. And the Tinsley family talked about this as well, that yes, you all are experiencing deep loss as a result of Penny's death and the impact even that COVID has had on your business and the things that you've had to experience. Yet, you also are still finding a way to allow joy to enter into those spaces. And so it's not an either or, it's an and. We can have both at the same time, just like you mentioned. And that's hard, I think, sometimes to feel or to grasp in the heaviness of loss. But you illustrated it so well. Thank you. Yeah. David, I think this one's going to be a round robin because everyone's gotten to talk but you. So tell me, what have you learned as a result of the pandemic, something that you'll take forward?
Well, I think that it's not necessarily anything new, but it's more of a reminder of what's at the core and important. Mm-hmm. And for me, one of the values is the value of choice. I've always liked that scripture where God is talking to the people of Israel, and he says, I've set before you this day a choice between life and death, and good and evil. And then he says, choose life. He gives us the answer. And I think that's been one of the driving values for me. And I think, listening to the Tinsley family talking about losing somebody very, very precious to you, and hearing these stories all across the world of incredible difficulty and challenge, one of the things my wife and I did is start making some intentional choices. First, to be safe, of course, but also to double down on helping others. So I think we became more generous. Yeah. We became more mindful of the importance of connecting with people, of taking care of ourselves and being with family. Every day we got up, we had to make a choice, and that was that driving value behind me is like, choose life. Don't give in to despair today. And some days that's really harder than others. Yeah. Some days you just want to stay in bed, but overall, I think that's been so helpful to me to be able to just keep choosing the right thing, to choose life, to do good, to love God, to love my neighbor. And that's been one of the things that's carried me through.
Yeah. You segued perfectly into this idea that I've picked up from both of your families. And really, it's kind of at the core and heart of what Good Shepherd Hospice does, what the Women of Giving do, what we are doing here today. And that really is this idea of service. It's interesting because you didn't know the conversations that I had with each of your families. But when I asked your families about service, the first response I got from Katie was, it's part of the DNA of our family. And George said, it's just part of our core. Both of your families firmly rooted in the foundation of service. And so I want you to elaborate a little bit on why is service important to you? And why is it actually important to our lives in the community? Do you want to start, Tinsley?
Yeah, I would say that when we spoke, I mentioned to you that my wife, her mother was a social worker, and that was part of my wife's DNA if you will, in just about everything that she did, from high school through college, and certainly after we got married. I have a little joke that we made $1, she'll give 50 cents away, and that's pretty close to her process. But as we from the time we were married, well, even dating 50 plus years ago, we were always involved in the community there in Kentucky, and then once we got into business, and well, of course, that traveled through all of our other transitional spots. But once we came to Florida, we hit the ground running and getting involved in the community there in Winter Haven, and expanding throughout Polk County and of course the state with different endeavors, and being an active part of that, primarily because it's our core, but also because of our business endeavors. It's very important to be involved in the business, and so it's not even a second thought that that we get involved with that, because we're here because someone helped us, you know. And I personally, I was adopted and raised in a very tough situation. The community raised me, helped raise me, and so that's always been a part of me. My wife is completely on the other side, though. I tell her sometimes she goes a little bit overboard, because we got to help ourselves first, you know, to be able to help others out. But our entire family, and I may just touch on my daughter for a second here, because she really exemplified this giving, and her whole life, or short life that she lived. She was a drop dead beauty, both inside and out. But she was not very competitive, which upset me quite a bit, because I wanted her to be competitive. But she would, if she was trying, she went to the Lakeland Performing Arts School here, graduated, and went on to North Carolina, and then to New York, Broadway and so forth. But she'd give up a tryout opportunity for someone else to let them have the opportunity versus going after herself. And once she found out that the disease she had was terminal, she knew that this was going to be the fight. You could see that she prepared herself right up to the end to end in her transition. She was just a radiant light that always had a smile on her face, no matter how many pokes and needles and cuts and so forth that she was experiencing. She would always thank the doctors, the nurses, and so forth. So she exemplified the giving in our family as the real light, you know. So.
You know, Saritha can't be with us today, but when I met her last time, so Saritha, if you're watching, just know people are listening, because I heard you last time, and I remember her saying to me, you know, the quote, "To whom much is given, much is required." And I think that your whole family has lived that out beautifully. What about you all? Why is service important to you?
I think he should start, since we've learned it from him.
Okay.
You know, it's interesting, because I can't say that I can remember specific instances where my family taught me to serve. It's just what we did. It was part of our everyday life, and constantly looking for ways we could make the community better. I mean, we've had times when we could have run away from problems, but you can't change things if you run away. And it's hard sometimes to stay in the midst of a challenging situation. But we really believe that you have to be outwardly directed. You know, if you want to save your life, you have to lose it. If you want to be served, you have to serve others. Those are real value. They're not just words in the Bible. They really matter to us. So it's not just one way to serve either. It's just a lifestyle, and it's the way you live. And so I think if you do that, you kind of live with an openness to the next opportunity and the next one, and they may be very, very different. Some are going to be on the micro level. It could be just somebody needs help taking their garbage out, and then maybe on a macro level where you start something that can be a game changer for thousands and thousands of people. But think you have to be open to it. And if that's important to you, you're going to lean that way as you move through life.
Yeah.
So,
I think, I mean, we grew up doing it, right? Katie said it's in our DNA. Echo what the Tinsleys say too. It's, for me, it's what you do when no one else is watching so much. If you have that drive, if you have that motivation to do good, right? And while people aren't watching you, right? And I think that's something that's so important is it's up to us, and it can't always be when someone else notices, right? And so when you have that option to do good or to serve, will you do it behind the scenes just as much as you do it in front of people?
Yeah.
Or
What
even
will you
more
choose?
so.
Yeah. And service, I think, for each of your families becomes and has become part of your legacy. If you think about in life, we leave behind some sort of legacy. That's one of the things that, when people do say is hospice depressing or is it? No, it's about living life. It's about living life to the very fullest. It's about contributing in the time that you have, having quality of life, and really leaving a legacy for those. And I think your families have left a legacy. I saw you get a little emotional when your dad was talking about Penny. I want to ask you first, and then I'm going to ask you what legacy you've left, because I think it's important for us to acknowledge Penny today, and if it's okay, almost to dedicate this to her today because of the way she has served. I'm wondering, what legacy did Penny leave for you?
Well, as my father stated, she was extremely kind. I've always said that she was one of the best people that I knew. And I didn't just say that because she was my sister, because as a sister, we got into a whole lot of altercations in our younger age. But over time, just being able to see the way she connect with somebody. She was a model. She was an actress. She was always the pretty girl. She used to have a lot of issues with other girls, in school, and that would draw her into a place where she was, introspective and maybe even allowed it to, impact her emotionally on some occasions. So she had that little trajectory that you have when you're growing up and you're kind of figuring things out. And then she transitioned to New York, and she was just all about the acting and the theater, and it's where her passion was. Mm-hmm. And we stayed in real good contact. And as she got sick, she transitioned, and it was something that was amazing to see. But she transitioned her personality because as she was always beautiful as far as I'm concerned, mm-hmm. She wasn't as mobile. She was, when she became bedridden, whatnot, she became connected to everybody in the community. And, I guess, if you're in a community, then it becomes more of a natural inclination to then assist and give back to the community. Yeah. And Penny, the community came to her, wow. And she accepted it, and she tried to give as much back. And I joke because she was my big sister, and we used to pick on each other. But a lot of people would say, "Oh, Penny helped me through this, and Penny helped me through that, and Penny helped me." I was like, "My sister," So because we had that little back and forth. But in any case, the point being that she became a lot of people's soulmates. Oh. And the most telling part, I made a little tribute video, put it on YouTube to put up for her, and posted it on Facebook, and my dad's got videos, I've got videos, and these types of things on YouTube or whatnot. And I don't know that any of us have breached 5,000 views, or me even 1,000 views. But the second day, I go in to just look at the video just because I wanted to see it again, and she was at 10,000 views.
Wow.
And I didn't, so 10,000 views is just, I guess, the most telling piece mm-hmm. of who she was, and kind of how her legacy is. She just touched people with her spirit and her energy, and that was her gift. Wow. And she was also grounded in God. P413 was her It's her favorite verse, and that was the name of her company that she created. And that's all she wanted to do was help people out, help young people, and just inspire people.
That's inspiring, because even in her difficult moments, she still chose. Part of her legacy was still choosing service. One of my favorite quotes is, "I have been thrust out of this world, which we all think is so important, and find myself standing on the edge of eternity. There, the view is very much different." And she took her view and she changed the lives of those around her. That's beautiful.
She knew the Bible inside and out, and would quote different verses to. She had a group of friends that they entered college together as a freshman at UNC, and they called themselves the Divas. And those young ladies stayed together till the day she left us. And she would, whenever they would have tough times, they would go to her room. She'd read the Bible to them, and they'd talk through the situations that they were dealing with. So she was always known as that person that would listen. And truly listen, and then give honest feedback, and not repeat what was said to others, and they all trusted her because of that. And
that's hard to find somebody like that. David, you said something. You have an email tag, right, on your email that illustrates this legacy. What is your email tag?
Yeah, I put this tag on my email. It's right after my signature, because I need to look at it every day. I mean, I hope others are touched by it, but it's really for me to begin with. But it says, the life you are living today is part of your legacy. How will you be remembered? And you know, I've done over 1,500 funerals as a pastor, and so this question comes up again and again and again. What's going to be your legacy? How will you be remembered? It's just a really important idea for me to keep before me every day, and to live it the right way, not to mess up, and not to lose sight, and not to lose direction.
And it starts today, just like you said. Every day, even a part of this, becomes a part of our legacy. Sometimes people get asked that question and they think, oh, I have to write it out. It's my goal list or my mission. But like you've said, no, it's just who we are. It's a part of who we are.
Well, I'll tell you just real quick, one of the things I enjoy doing is being the pastor who does a lot of funerals. One of the things that I often say, and there'll be a room of hundreds of people, and I'll say, you know, chances are that somebody's going to be standing in a place like this one day talking about you. What would they say? And you ought to see the look on people's faces. I mean, I have the catbird seat to watch them, but you can just see the wheels turning at that point. But I think all of us need to think about that every day.
Yeah, that's important. Very good. Thank you. There's a podcast that I listen to, because I know it's almost time to close. I'm surprised I'm not getting a sign for a 5-minute warning, but I guess we have not gone too far off the rails, families. We've actually done our job so far. But there's a podcast that I listen to, and she asks a question sometimes when people end. She says, what is giving you life right now? And so I want you to think, it can be something fun. You know, some people have these real deep answers, and that's wonderful. I totally value that. You can give it. If I would have had to answer this question, just to tell you, I would have last week said Ghirardelli dark chocolate sea salt soiree. Yes, I am the person who actually called the Instacart person to have it delivered because I was running out and I couldn't go out. I mean, this is embarrassing. You know, what are they going to say about me at my funeral? Oh no, right? Sea salt soiree. So it can be silly. It can be also something very deep, whatever you feel on your heart. But I want to ask each of you just a very short statement as we close. What's giving you life right now? And, you know, what's bringing you joy? Any of you can start, whoever wants to.
Katie, why don't you start? Surprise.
Gosh, I feel like it changes like weekly based on, you know, kind of how you're feeling and stuff like that. For me, this is maybe going to sound like a fake answer, but honestly, it's the work that I get to do every day. Especially in the film world and what we do, sometimes it's hard not to just fall into this routine of doing the same thing over and over again. But getting to think of new ideas for our documentaries and what we're doing, and then also just the clients we get to work with, hearing about what they're doing, even in the midst of the pandemic and stuff, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that keeps me going and gets me motivated, and getting to connect with people, because I don't really feel like what we do is work. I mean, it's work, but it's also what we really love. And so the people I get to work with every day, which is family and friends, we're really all family, but and then just getting to think of new ideas and new ways to do things. I don't know. I mean, that's really exciting for me and energizes me, and it's what gets me out of bed in the morning, even when we feel very heavy and like this, what we're going through is just a lot. So what I'm getting to do right now, it energizes me and gives me life.
That's awesome. Thank you. Good answer. Much deeper than mine. Okay. Yeah. Anybody else?
Chocolate too.
Okay, chocolate's good too.
I have to say this because I never thought this would give me energy, but
Okay.
it's silly, it's funny. I mean, I'm a very driven person, right? I love business, I love people, I love opportunities, I love having a chip on my shoulder, but I also love helping people, right? But what I really love is when my son lost his first tooth. And he said, "Dad, I don't believe in a tooth fairy." I said, "That's all right, but put the tooth under your pillow, just because." So he puts it under his pillow, and this was literally yesterday. He comes running out, waking me up at like 6 a.m. "I've got $5. I got $5. The tooth fairy's real." And I said, "Oh my gosh!" And then my wife wakes up and she's like, "You started him with $5 for a tooth?"
I'm thinking the same thing, Andy. I really am.
So I was at this
Yeah.
big high, and then I came down. I said, "Well, no, I worked on that." I said that for the first tooth, he got $5. It might be a quarter after. We'll see.
Yeah.
But what gives me life is seeing the innocence of, I have 2 children, right? And seeing their love and passion for the most simple thing of learning how to walk and crawl. And it makes you just stop and be thankful that there could be a million things in this world that are chaotic, but the family around you and your friends are the absolute most important, because everything could go away. You could have health scares. You could be at the end of life. Those are the people who are around you.
Yeah,
So that's my 2 cents.
that's beautiful. Thank you.
I can tell you what it's not. It's not.
Well, I didn't ask that.
Well, it's not politics, so
Okay,
that's out there.
Okay.
But what it is for me is relationship with my family. I know once we finish this, I get to go home and see my grandsons, and that's always exciting. But being with my family, being with friends, making new friends, hearing your story, that just energizes me. And I think relationships are really part of how we heal this world, and I hope we do more of that. I will say, because we're talking about hospice, it's one of the things that I appreciate so much is that they really encourage relationships. Going to the hospital sometimes, I've got to go through security and get a badge and, their hours. I can go to hospice in the middle of the night, and they'll let me in because they know the importance of that relationship. So I value that, and I'm grateful you do too.
Yeah, thank you. What's giving you life or joy, my 2 Georges?
You kind of stole my answer, because I think that this conversation here, this conversation that we're having here, that we're engaging in, it renews perspective. I love your words of choose life. That's just the way that's packaged up into 2 words. That's so powerful. I know when we first I've traveled for the last I don't know how many years, just on planes week after week, and was never home. So much so that I remember when I was selling my house, and everybody kept asking me, "So where are you going? Where are you going to move to? Where are you going?" I said, "Look, I live out of a bag anyway. I'm never in any place more than a week or 2, so I'll figure it out." But in any case, being grounded as my father could tell you, my mother, just being able to appreciate nature, love to fish, and just be outdoors and kind of, feed the birds and even, feed the fish and do those types of things, growing plants and doing that type of thing, was able to just, that gave me like some appreciation of being able to be in one place and enjoy something and not having to be, moving around so much. But just that, and then the ability to I don't know, just to spend time with my parents. 'Cause that's been so important. And we're, with the loss of Penny, it brought us so close together. And it's just, I don't know, it's just an amazing thing. I have to say that between me and my dad, we both could say that, I don't know if it's giving us life or giving us weight, but my mom has been cooking. He said, my dad's always said, son, your mother never cooks for me. He said, now you know.
You get takeout the night this is aired because she heard you. Yeah. What about you, George Sr.? What's giving you life right now?
Well, and I want to answer your question too. We'll break it up, please. And the first part, I'm going to speak to hospice. Hospice was a bad word to me. During the time when my daughter was nearing the end, and the topic came up, I had a lot of pushback, and it took me a while to understand hospice, to understand, that at some point you have to let God do His thing, and His decisions whatever happens. And so the experience that I had with hospice was, I don't think it could have been any better. The way that they came in and took care of, received my daughter, came into our home, and we brought her home and got her ready for transition, or got her ready to see what happens, really, basically. And as it gave us time to spend quality time with her, and then made it comfortable, because her diaphragm, thank you, her diaphragm wasn't working, and so she was on the ventilator, which for the last couple of weeks it was code red every several hours and so forth, that when she got home she actually was off of 21 hours. Wow. And so she fought through it. So anyway, the whole experience, I've become a new believer in hospice, and the whole process. What makes me happy, what motivates me, is I love people. And every morning getting up, trying to figure out how to motivate those that I come in contact with. My hashtag is turning obstacles to opportunities, and I do a lot of motivational stuff on social media, as well as I do a lot of doing virtual motivational speaking engagements. And so to be able to affect people's lives and impart in them what has made me who I am, and who has helped me be successful, is a rewarding piece for me. And as meant to politics, it has cost me some relationships with some friends that I've had back through college. Not that we're not going to be friends, but that I had to just cut the conversation short because it just wasn't going anywhere.
Well, it's not giving you
life. No, not at all. But I see the good in people. I see the good in the world. I see this pandemic as one door possibly closing, but another one opening. And you've got to be able to pivot and go in a direction that's going to take you onto more positive things. So I don't deal with negative people, and it's always an opportunity. So every day that I get up, sunshine, raining, whatever it is, let's go do it and move forward.
Thank you. I think we're living in a time that feels heavy. There are a lot of different things that contribute and make it feel heavy, and sometimes it can feel dark. And I'm a quote person, but I usually misquote. We'll see if I can get this one right. But one of my favorites that I feel like you all have spoken about today, to be quite honest, because each of you have experienced your own sorrows and difficulties during this time, and yet, for some reason, there is such light within you and love around you. And so the quote is by Meister Eckhart, and it says, "Truly it is in the darkness that one finds the light." So when we are in sorrow, then this light is nearest of all to us. And I hope that you all at home have felt that today. I hope you have felt the light within these families, the way that they have chosen to take what is a dark time and they've chosen to shine light onto others in our communities, around each other through building relationships. That's what this is about. That's what this world is about. That's what this event is about. I hope that it has uplifted you today. I hope from wherever you are. I love Winnie the Pooh, you know, and we're all in our own corners of the forest this morning, but go out, make your own corner of the forest in whatever way you can a better place. Be inspired by those around us. There is hope. There is always hope. Thank you, families. Thank you, Tinsleys and McIntyres. Y'all can do golf claps at home. And so now as we close, I'd like to turn it back over to Cindy.
Thank you, Erica.
Yeah, such a great panel and great insight. Thank you all for being here today.
Yes, inspiring as usual, and we so appreciate your willingness to be open and share. And when Erica asked, you know, what about this gives you life, and what gives you life this year, being involved with something as rewarding as this, that gives me life, so thank you. Now for our audience, in the packet you received with your program, you'll find a response card about ways to be involved or request more information, as well as a separate membership application. I hope you'll consider joining Hospice Women of Giving and help us grow our ability to make a difference in the lives of hospice patients and families. And if you join before the end of this year, you'll be invited to vote on the projects at our January annual meeting and be a part of making that difference.
And if for some reason you're not ready to join, I hope you will consider making a gift to support this vital hospice mission. Also, please share your contact information so we can keep in touch about upcoming events.
I'll leave you today with a thought from Rabindranath Tagore. I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy. I hope you were inspired by these stories and feel empowered to celebrate life, hope, and service every day. Thank you for being with us.